Hello, how are you? Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon for me. For some of you, it might be morning, depending on where in the world you're watching this from. We've got people watching on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Fundraising Everywhere TV, YouTube. I'm not sure where else, but you're all very welcome. This is new format, merging the podcast, merging the news, merging a few little things I do into one thing. And what we have today is I have a very special guest who's come on to talk about something which I just found fascinating. So we're going to bring him on in a second. But we're also going to look at some of the fundraising news that's going on this week, which is pretty much all COVID and coronavirus stuff. That is pretty much everything in the news at the moment. And then after this show, we are kicking off Fundraising Everywhere TV. So we have a few shows lined up for you. We've got The Drunk Chef, John Lapp. We've got Kashana TV, and we've got some surprises coming for you as well after this. But I'm going to bring my guest on right now because he's much more interesting than me, and I want to get talking to him. My guest today is Jonathan Cook. There he is.
Hello.
Hey, JC. How are you?
Hey, very well, very well. I'm not sure I'm more interesting than you.
Someone said to me, before I met you, they were like, "Do you know Jonathan Cook?" And I was like, I haven't met him. And she said, he's as funny as you, but he puts things like, he's much more organized. And I was like, okay, great. Thanks.
Brilliant. I've pulled the wool over their eyes then.
How are you doing today? You're all locked up in the UK?
Certainly am. So yeah, finally people in the UK are behind closed doors. We're allowed out for our one run a day. So suddenly everyone's become a runner, I guess. My kids obviously been running around the house. So if they suddenly appear, in the corner of the screen, a la that South Korean journalist, commentator on BBC News, maybe we'll go viral. Maybe we'll have one of those funny things where kids appear in the background. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I think everyone's become like really tolerant of it now. I mean, I think they always were tolerant, but now it's kind of like expected. And I think there's a little pleasure in seeing like, that's what your kid looks like, or that's what your dog or cat looks like. Like I like this. It's like more human than the office days.
Yeah, well, we've got their homework and their artwork on the notice board behind me. So
I assumed you drew that. No, that's your kid.
That was my masterpiece. I've 41 years of trying to paint, and that's as good as I can get.
It's lovely. So Jonathan, you run an agency called Insightful. Is that right?
Yeah.
And how do you sum it up for those of us who don't know it?
Right. So let me I'll explain it in a slightly different way. So I always said the charity sector is probably the best sector in the entire world at coming up with new ideas. So I think we're the best sector in the world at working out different ways to jump out of an aeroplane, dress a banana, just do it in your pants, dress as Superman, whatever. We're the best at coming up with new ways to run 26.2 miles dressed as a cake, dressed as whatever it might be, with one leg, whatever it might be. But I think as a sector, we're not very good at testing and working out whether our ideas are wanted by our supporters and our audience. So I set up Insightful in 2012 to try and help organizations understand their supporters better. So that can be all about speaking to people in person, sitting down with a cup of tea and saying, why do you knit doilies, or why do you bake cakes, or why do you make jam? Or it's at the other end of the spectrum, looking through huge, vast quantities of data, going, what do the numbers tell me? So I'm like a nerd and a kind of nosy Parker, and that's what I do.
Would you call yourself a nerd, like a cool nerd? Or...
Oh, absolutely a cool nerd. I'm definitely a nerd. Look, Simon, I have a favorite spreadsheet. Okay, all right. So anyone that has a favorite spreadsheet by default must be a nerd.
What's your favorite Excel function?
My favorite Excel function.
I'm a big concatenate fan. I love.
Are you? You see, I found an even better one. There's one called text join, which allows you to concatenate like loads of cells much quicker. So text join is like
it's like the new concatenate.
It's concatenate on drugs, basically.
Oh my God, you've opened my mind. I have to check this out. So you're obviously, you're big into research, you're big into data, and I suppose what we can learn from that. And a lot of us struggle with it because, you know, it's either too much or too little. And, you know, even like Google Analytics and stuff like that, we have a tendency to set up and it's just like, it's just there. We don't really use it. But you're a man who actually helps people use this stuff. And the report that you and I were talking about last time I saw you was the report I wanted to chat to you about today. The report is called Why People Participate in Events Fundraising. And if anyone is watching this at fundraisingeverywhere.com/TV, if you're watching this on the Fundraising Everywhere thing, there's a blue button underneath, the blue button. If you press that, then you'll be taken to Jonathan's page where you can download this report and read it yourself. Because it's really interesting. You looked at hundreds of thousands of regular people's fundraising pages, and you analyze them. You started to see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. So when it comes to events fundraising, and I'm particularly talking about online giving pages here. So in this report, I've looked specifically at just giving pages, and I'll explain why in a bit more detail in a second. But we're actually not bad at understanding the financial results of our events fundraising. So how many people have set up fundraising pages? How much do they raise? How many people have given to those people? But one thing we're not very good at is looking at some of the softer information in there. Now, this report basically came from a conversation that I had with a colleague of mine about 3 years ago, where they said, wouldn't it be great if we could discover why our supporters run or do fundraising events for us? Now, what if we could find out exactly why they did it? Now, they had about 30,000 event participants over like about an 8-9 year period. So like, well, we can't interview them all, or we could do, but I don't think the budget's big enough there. So how can we find a way to discover this quickly? And I was like, well, hang on a minute. Every single person that takes part in a fundraising event and sets up an online giving page writes exactly why they're doing it in their personal statement. So if you look at anyone's Just Giving page, they will say, I am running the, Edinburgh Marathon because my mum has insert issue here or whatever it might be. And I was like, right, I wonder if there's a way of being able to look at all of these statements quickly and easily. Basically, a couple of months later after that, I watched a TV program where they kind of explained how you can study huge quantities of text quickly and easily and pull out the keywords. Do you want to tell you how? Do you want to help?
Yeah, I did. I actually do because usually we dismiss that kind of stuff because it's qualitative. It's like, you can't break it down statistically. You can't look at a summary of it. You have to read them all. So that's usually how we deal with these blocks of text. But you're talking about doing something else. Yeah,
so you're right. So blocks of text are usually ignored, if I'm really honest. I mean, you can read them one by one. That's great. But if you've got 50,000, then no one bothers to read them because that's just too much to read. So this idea basically came from something that happened at the Old Bailey about 7 or 8 years ago. So the Old Bailey about 7 or 8 years ago digitized their entire all the transcripts from all of their cases since they started 300-400 years ago. And so this is
sorry, what's the Old Bailey? That's police, isn't it?
Yeah, the Old Bailey is like the largest criminal court in Britain.
Okay.
So
I'm just asking for people who aren't as bright as me and you on this thing.
The Old Bailey, right? So if you look, the Old Bailey is like a very beautiful building in the centre of London. It's got a lady on top with a sword in one hand and a set of spears in the other.
Yes.
And it's the central criminal. Yes, justice, and it's a central criminal court for it's where the really nasty cases happen. They get heard in the UK, and they digitized their entire catalogue of transcripts from their cases. And justice historians around the world went bonkers. They're like, oh my God, imagine what we can learn about the changing attitudes to crime through all those years. But they had trillions and trillions of words to look through, and it's impossible to look through that. So they used something. This is the only geeky bit, I promise. Okay, they used something called word entropy.
Word entropy.
Word entropy. Word entropy.
Word entropy.
Every single one of you knows. Yeah, every single one of you knows what word entropy is because you've all played Scrabble.
Okay.
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 So you'll know that certain words score different scores in Scrabble.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So the word my is a 2-letter word, doesn't score much.
Yeah.
The word, I don't know.
Oxidize.
Telephone.
Yeah.
Oxidize. There you go. Scores loads.
Yeah.
So what they did is they basically gave a score, kind of using the Scrabble scoring, to every single word in this history of transcripts of court cases.
Yeah.
And they went, okay, let's ignore all the words that didn't score highly. We'll just completely ignore them. Or we'll only concentrate on those words that scored very highly. And that would allow them to pick out the words that are important. Now, I'm going to give you 5 words from a court case, and you're going to tell me what that court case is about. Okay. And that's and, or, but, then, he.
Yeah, it doesn't really roll it down because men are the perpetrators in most of these crimes.
Yeah. So all you can work out from that is there's a man involved. Okay. Yeah. But if I gave you these 5 words, if I said wallet, cosh, blood, robbery, death, you'd be like, hang on a minute, I think someone was robbed and hit over the head, and now they're dead.
Yeah.
So I used exactly that technique with this. So I got 200,000 people's just giving statements, and I applied this in word entropy, where I basically gave every single word a number score, like you would do in Scrabble. Yeah. And then I ignored all the little words that scored low to get rid of eyes, me's, how, when, what, and I just kept those words that had that scored highly, which gave me the information, the important information in people's statements.
That's clever.
Go. That's
really clever.
Have we lost all our viewers now? Because that was just nerdy.
Yeah. People have just been watching my face just crumbling in misunderstanding. That's really interesting.
I'm hoping that makes sense.
No, it does. So, I mean, people set up their pages. They're talking about loss. They're talking about, something that's upset them, or something which is horrible or terrible, or, it's the problem solution thing is usually why we're setting up these pages. So you're trying to find the trend of what kind of words, what kind of phrases they're using on these, and then comparing it to how much they raise.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things I've done. One, I've looked at the different types of fundraising event they've got, and saw do people use different types of words for particular causes and particular events. So I think. It's something like cycling events. I think people who take part in cycling events use more positive words than any other activity. People who fundraise for walks use the most negative language. But when I say negative, I don't mean that was rubbish. I mean,
I fucking hate walking.
Yeah. I don't mean that. I mean negative in the sense that there might be something that's sad that's happened in their life, that they are, it could be that they've lost someone, or somebody's gone poorly or something like that. Whereas cycling is very positive. People are mentioning birthdays come up a lot with cycling. So I think that is basically men get to 40 and go, I'm a bit fat. It's my birthday. I've had my midlife crisis. I'm going to get on a bicycle, buy some stupid Lycra, and I hope there's no cyclists watching. Sorry. Buy some Lycra, look a bit daft, and try and make some money. So that's what I mean by positive words. They're mentioning things like birthdays.
So, whereas if you're walking, it's very, very often it's like these remembrance walks. It's something a bit, more accessible for people who maybe it's like a gateway drug to fundraising. So you do your easy 5K walk and you go from there, maybe.
I love the idea of walk being a gateway drug to fundraising.
But this is cool. I mean, has anyone? I haven't heard of anyone doing a report like this before. Anyone kind of even just giving. I mean, it's their data. I haven't heard of them really analyzing it to this level.
No, I don't know if they have actually. I mean, I did approach them a couple of years ago and said, is this something that's even physically possible to do? Like, can we access these pages? And they very kindly said, just go look at the API. So so here's where I had to give up and hand it over to somebody else, but I didn't know how to access an API and do anything. So, but luckily my brother-in-law does. My brother-in-law did. So I a couple of Christmases ago, I got him quite drunk, and I said, right, I'm going to ask a favor of you. And he very kindly made me a little program which allows me to effectively scrape this data off of Just Giving pages. Which is how I was able to get 200,000. Now I don't know. The best thing is I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's Jeff such and such page. I just know page number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Yeah.
did that. So it's really fascinating. I'm getting a glimpse into people's motivations without knowing who they are. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's really, I was gonna say creepy, but that's not the right word. It's just like you're like an evil genius, you know, putting this all together. But you're using it for good, I suppose, because the point of this report, yes, it's to, I mean, you know, to get people to pay attention to your business and what you guys do, I assume. But I know you're a good guy.
You that, then.
You want to help nonprofits out. So what do we learn from this? Because me and you, we're going to look at the report a little bit now in a second. But what do we learn from this? We coach our fundraisers on the language to use, or what should we be doing differently because of this?
So I guess if we go back to that question that was posed to me, you know, all those years ago, 3 years ago, by one of my colleagues, what they wanted to know was, or why they wanted to uncover this, is they wanted to know how best to market their events. You know, if they discovered that all the people that took part in their pogo stickathon were doing it because it was a 21st birthday thingy, or if all the people that were taking part in their I don't know, tandem cycle race were doing it because they've lost someone, that they want to know that, because that then influences their marketing. You know, if people are doing an event for your charity because of quite sad reasons, then you probably don't want to put a picture at the front of everyone having a party going whoop whoop whoop. Yeah. This is amazing. Yeah. Like, it's actually about presenting your audience with something that is motivating, but also recognizes their reasons for doing it. So let me go back to that charity for a second. I remember one of the things we discovered, they were a disability charity, but they help people who predominantly they were helping people who've been born with a disability, but they also help people who've been disabled in later years. And for a couple of their events, they discovered that the word brother, sister, and accident came out loads as motivation for why people were doing it. Yeah. And we suddenly realized that for a particular type of event, people were doing it because maybe their brother just had a car accident and was now disabled. Now that completely changed the way that they approached that event. They then went back to the rest of their database and said, looked at their database, well, how many people have we got in our database where we've got an indication on our record that they have had, that they started fundraising for us because a brother or sister has had an accident. Right, we've got these 15,000 people. Right, well, we're now going to talk to these 15,000 people about this event, because people that take part in that event are doing it for that reason. So that's kind of a kind of practical result of doing this. If you can understand why people are doing this, then you can market to them better, you can make your events better, and you'll recruit more people, because it's what they want to do.
It's like in a lot of aspects of fundraising, like if you're a tiny charity and you only had one fundraiser, you'd be doing this stuff quite naturally and you'd be doing it quite well. You know, you'd be having a conversation and you'd be saying, why are you fundraising and what's the event you're doing? And you'd understand them, and quite naturally you'd change how you speak about it and you'd change your communications. But what you're doing here, or what you're talking about here, is where you get to the point you have hundreds, thousands of fundraisers. You can't know all their stories, or you can't remember all their stories. So you're talking about being clever about it and almost playing the numbers game and knowing this is my typical person, this is typically the motivation. So you're working with that on a bigger scale. It's really clever.
Yeah, that's completely correct. As you know, it's fabulous that a charity can get to a stage where they've got thousands and thousands of people taking part in events. That's brilliant. Who doesn't want that? But the more information you get, the less you can do with it, because it's impossible to go through tens of thousands of personal statements and read them all. It's almost like the big ones have a disadvantage sometimes. They get to that point where the not customer service, but like the donor love, it starts to trickle off a little bit, because it's hard to maintain it. And hopefully this will help overcome some of those issues, because you're right, the donor love. There's probably a chart you could draw, you know, size of charity versus level of donor love, and it probably looks something like that.
I think I have that chart. I did that chart, and it was basically, I mean, my thinking was that it's kind of goes down and up, because the small charities, they're great at it. Like people who are in small charities are really good at it because they have that personal connection. And have you got kids about to jump on you? Yeah, I've gotten
actually
really
my
good
wife,
at spotting.
right?
Oh, is it? Okay. I've gotten really good at spotting people's eyes when they're like,
oh, it looks like she's just. It looks like she's going to come to get crisps for my kid. There you go.
Fair enough. That's right. But yeah, so as they get bigger, they lose that donor love because it just becomes unmanageable. But in theory, it should come back up again because the large charities should be investing in people like you and in schemes like this where they can actually be a bit smarter in their care. Is the thinking?
Yeah,
but I don't know if it actually.
Yeah, I agree. Well, no, I think you're right. So one thing I've noticed is lots of the big charities kind of have people that, like me, who in their teams they have insight teams, they have market research teams, and if we take, say, the top 20 charities in the UK, they've probably got a team of people that could technically do this. But then you've got, I don't know, 20,000 more who don't. But are of the right size, that actually they're in that dip where their donor love is going down because they've got lots of people taking part, but they don't have the skill to do this. And that hopefully it's those people who benefit from this. That's my hope, that actually they're the ones that will most benefit from discovering this kind of stuff.
Yeah, very good. Well, I'll say it to anyone again that wants to read the report. We're going to have a quick look at it now. But if you're watching at fundraisingeverywhere.com/TV, if you're watching on the site, you'll see the blue button below. If you press the big blue button, it'll take you to Jonathan's report, so you'll be able to see it. So there it is for you. So I just want to have a look at the comments before I open this report. I can see Nishan from South Africa. Hello, Nishan. Deborah in Canada.
Nishan.
Natasha's watching. Do you know Nishan?
No, but I'm just saying hello.
Oh, hello, Nishan. Gillian Graham wants to know more about your favorite Excel function. People are.
I could do loads if you want.
That could be a whole other episode.
Look, if you're gonna learn any Excel function, you need to learn VLOOKUP. Okay.
Yeah, VLOOKUP. Oh my god, love VLOOKUP.
It's a basic one, but it transforms your life.
It's like once you get your head around it, it takes a while to crack it, and then once you get your head around it, it'll change everything. Anne, I want to say Anne from Ireland is watching, so hello. And then Mo from the Unsteady Hand, he's talking about pivot tables, which actually I never really got my head around. People rave about them, but I don't really know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, pivot tables are good.
Okay, so some of the highlights, some of the things that jumped out in your report that I want to ask you about, which are interesting. So one of the things that I think it was the first thing you told me about this report as well, was the killer words, the words that seem to have a really negative, terrible effect on your fundraising. What are the one or two words that you found that are pulling it down?
So the two biggies that stand out for me are selfie. People that use the word selfie generally tend to raise considerably less money. And please, spelled PLZ.
Yeah.
They are actually the two worst. They were the two worst words. So what do I mean by the worst words? Basically, people that use those words in their Just Giving statement, on average, raise the least money. Okay? So in the cohort that I studied, the average raise was £580, and people that use the word please and selfie and some other ones, detox was one.
Detox.
Detox.
Detox. Yeah. I'm not sponsoring anyone who's doing a detox. No way. I can see why that's not popular.
Yeah, they raised. I think it was something like a third of the average. It was something like, on average, they raised like 190 quid or something like that, versus nearly £600.
That's still pretty good, isn't it? Like a couple $100 for a detox. I'd be happy with that if I was a charity.
Yeah, I think I'd be happy with that. Now, what's the point in discovering what the worst words are? It doesn't mean that if you see somebody's written "please sponsor me, please PLZ," that you should immediately get on the phone and go, "Oh, please take that word off immediately, because we've discovered that if you use that word, you won't raise much money." That's don't do that.
Some nerd told us.
Some nerd does. If you don't delete that word PLZ, we won't raise any money. Don't do that. But I think the point of that is it's about working out where you're going to put some of your fundraising effort, because there are some words on the other end of the spectrum, words that indicate the person is more likely to raise money. And there's two schools of thought here. My school of thought is find the people that are going to raise you lots of money, give them even more love, and they'll might raise you even more money. Other people's school of thought is find the people that aren't raising much money, give them some love, and they might raise you more money. There's statistics in that which we can argue about another day, but I guess that the point is it's about highlighting those people that they may need more help in their fundraising, or maybe they're just not that engaged, and it doesn't matter how much help you give them. But I just thought it was quite funny that another one was mixed martial arts.
It's negative. People don't like it.
Yeah, mixed martial arts is a negative thing. People who use word mixed martial arts in their statements generally don't raise that much money.
Yeah. Sorry, don't raise much money.
You said it.
Yeah. And you had words.
Maybe I'm into mixed martial arts. I might take offense of that. With my massively weedy body, maybe I am actually a secret ninja or something.
Maybe we need when all this Corona stuff's finished, me and you get in the ring together for charity. We pummel each other as two nerds.
You've said it now. As long as we don't put the word mixed martial art in our Just Giving statement.
So one of the things that's interesting about the words, because it's not like you're saying, it's not necessarily the word that is sucking it out of it, but it tells you a little bit more about the person. So maybe a please is someone who doesn't necessarily take time on their page, doesn't necessarily put the effort in. It's stuff for you as a non-profit to consider when you're looking at your people, because some of the words that you said were really were on the pages that worked better were surprising. And it was things like immeasurable, affectionately, trajectory, these kind of longer words, which, usually would have no place in fundraising copy. But maybe it's an indication that people are spending more time putting in like a lot of information about it, putting in the story on top of the stuff around the nonprofit. What are your thoughts about that? That there's beyond the word, there's lots about effort in here. It's what it says about people themselves.
I think you're absolutely right. You actually just said something very interesting. You said these are words that wouldn't usually find their way into fundraising copy, and you've got to remember that the people that are writing these statements aren't writing fundraising copy. They're writing a personal story. And some of those words do show that they have done some research into the organization. They show that that organization has made a real impact on their life. And like immeasurable. I can imagine that the sentence could be something like, the care that they gave my mother is immeasurable.
Yeah.
You can picture that kind of word being used, and somebody who's written that would, how invested are they in your organization? It's tremendous. They'll be tremendously invested in your organization. Now, that also tells you something else. If they're that invested in you right now, they'll still be that invested in you in 6-12 months' time. So these are the people who are standing there going, "Hello, I love your organization. Please." By the way, the kids are coming in now, so that's going to be exciting.
That's right. Yeah. Well, if you need to abandon it, I'll understand. But I
don't. So these are the people that are waving their hands in the air, saying, "Hey, look at me! I love you. I'm telling you that you're amazing. I'm telling my friends that you're amazing." These are the people that if you can identify them and you can invest some time and effort in, it won't just be events that they'll do for you. They'll do other forms of fundraising. They might set up regular gifts. They might stick you in their will. Who knows? But there are some of those words that you're right. The words that raise more money. I never thought of it that way. That actually the people have invested more time in what they're saying. That's a really good way of looking at it.
Maybe
I should put that in the report.
Yeah, well, the new edition. But because I get, maybe. If you're like me on social media, I get a lot of messages out of the blue from people looking for donations. Because I mentioned fundraising in my profile, I'm guessing people in third world countries, people in the United States with healthcare problems and things like that, private message me all the time out of the blue and just say, "Can you donate?" And sometimes the message is like, you'll get a bit invested in it because they've put time in it and they've, actually written something from the heart. Whereas other times you do get messages and it's like, "Please selfie." and give me money. And it's like, no, I'm not going to give you money. And it's just like, it seems like, they're obviously messaging a lot of people, so they feel like, I'll just throw this out and play the numbers game. But it just shows, and I think one of the things your report drove home for me is if you're more considerate about your ask, if you put some time into considering those asks, then you get better at it. If you think about it more.
Completely correct.
Do you want to introduce your kid?
I think Rose, come be on TV.
Because this is how you have to. I found with my son is you don't try and keep them
on
a picture. You put, hello, how are you?
Hello, Rose.
Hello.
Right, you can go now.
That's sweet.
This is the new world of working, isn't it?
I know, and it's great.
This is what we have
there's a lot of positives about it. Once you get over the idea that people would frown upon your kid coming into the screen, it's like, this is fun. This is nice. You were talking in your report. You talk about senior occupations, and so when people are talking about like CEOs, business leaders, and things like that, you saw a higher gift. Is that because they're mixing in rich circles, or what do you think? What's your thoughts on it?
The answer is probably yes. They probably aren't doing that. But I think the reason why I put it into the report is, imagine that you're charity X and you've got several thousand people take part in events for you each year, and someone has written CEO in their persona. You might want to take a look at that person and go, well, are they a CEO?
Yeah.
Are they a senior business person? Because before then, you didn't know that. You just knew that they were fundraising page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they were doing the great big pogo stickathon dressed as a banana. And now you've discovered through their personal statement that they happen to own, I don't know, an IT company.
Yeah.
So, the evidence is that people with more senior professions do raise more, and I don't. There's probably no kind of big revelation there. But as I said, the reason I wrote it in the report was to highlight to people when you see that, get on the phone, say hello. How can I help you in your big pogo stick-thon dress a banana? I always choose really stupid events.
But it's. I mean, I never really hear about people talking about prospect research or donor research using fundraising
through events,
which is their own words, which is them opening up and then sharing. And actually, this might be the first time anyone's ever said to me, this is a good place to be learning about your potential donors or your potential fundraisers or your existing fundraisers.
Think of it this way: this is the only time in any fundraising medium where the donor voluntarily tells you exactly why they've run fundraising for you, exactly why they're giving you money. It doesn't exist in any other form of fundraising.
Wow.
And it's existed digitally since 2000 when Just Giving launched in the UK. And I'm a little bit embarrassed that it's taken 20 years for anyone to go, oh, look, there's this bit where they tell you exactly why they're doing it.
Yeah, that's fascinating because it's like it's always been kind of dismissed as like a text field that just we can't really use this.
It's just there.
Yeah. That's mad.
But it is potentially the most valuable source of information as to why people support your charity that exists in our entire sector.
Yeah. In your report, you looked as well, or as you were looking at all the data, you were looking at types of charities, you were looking at types of events. Was there anything really surprising for you that came through that you just were like, oh, I didn't expect that?
So the event that on average raised the most, or the fundraising activity that on average raised the most money was actually people raising money in lieu of gifts at weddings. Now that's quite timely because every wedding in the UK has just been cancelled. So, so I'm not sure how relevant that is right now. But people do get married, and people that raise money in lieu of gifts at weddings and set up an online giving page are raised like crazy sums of money compared to the average. It was like thousands of pounds versus the average of about £580. And I think I'm trying to think what. And you've got a report there. What I need to just have a quick look. What was the one that raised the least?
It was the like celebrations, is how I read it. So you're kind of
yes.
Is that like no? That's not even birthdays. So it's people celebrating
Right.
what the MMA results.
No, yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't know. What was I mean, that's the definition that Just Giving have to an event. So I probably need to do a bit of work into working out what celebration is. But I thought that was
they
things
break it
like
into certain categories, do they?
yeah. So these are their categories. So some are clearer than others, like cycling and marathons and runs are pretty clear, but celebration is maybe more complicated. But it's things like celebrating, I don't know, maybe birth of a child or passing an exam or something like that, or
but there's a significant difference, isn't there? So if you were on a fundraising page, if you're a charity on a fundraising page like Just Giving, and you see a wedding page set up versus a celebration page set up, it's going to maybe change your priorities. It's going to change how you approach it. And
absolutely. In fact, there was even the thing with the weddings is you can actually drill down a bit more. And I discovered that people that raise money in lieu of gifts at weddings for hospices, but adult hospices rather than children's hospices, that was the biggest fundraising thing that existed on Just Giving. Those people were raising like £3,500 or something on average. So you and I met a couple of weeks ago at the hospice conference, and I said that I stood up in front of the crowd and the audience and said, look, if you've got people who are getting married and they've had relatives who have been through the hospice and they've received good care through the hospice, then ask them, is it something they'd consider doing? Would they consider setting up a fundraising page for their wedding? Because clearly people who set up fundraising pages for their weddings for adult hospices are so close to that cause that people people want to give. Now a couple of people came up to me after and said hadn't even considered that, hadn't even thought about asking people to do that, but they said but actually it kind of makes a bit of sense. Imagine if you are, let's say you're in your early 30s and you're about to get married and your mum has gone through a hospice and has passed away, and you set up a page for your wedding. People are going to go, yeah, actually, Dan, I'll give you some money. That's a really, really worthwhile cause. And it's kind of lots of stuff in the report is really logical when you read it. You're like, oh, it's obvious. It's only obvious when it's put down in front of you. I didn't realize that weddings for adult hospice would be the biggest fundraiser, but now I've done it, it seems obvious. So.
It's true. It's like so much in the report. It's like it helps you get into the heads of your donor, and you're like, oh yeah, so this is probably what they're thinking, and so then we can, I've always said you're a really good fundraiser if you could read someone's mind, and you're kind of you're tapping into this a little bit, that it's like, okay, well, we know if someone's going to set this up, maybe this report, maybe if we just take time to think, okay, what's the person going through, what brought them to here, and like you said, if I ever got married, there'd be an empty seat there. That's where my dad would have been. So I can imagine that if you set up I'd never set up a wedding fundraiser because I need the money to pay off the wedding. But if you were to set it up, you can see how it would work really, really well, because you're going to draw a reference to it. And it's obviously such a significant thing. You're surrounded by friends and family who know that person. So it all makes sense when you spell it out. And it's really helpful. It's great. Yeah. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the report. I'll say to anyone again who's watching, if you go to fundraisingeverywhere.com/TV, there's a blue button there where we've linked to Jonathan's report, and you can get it at Insightful. Well, you spell your web address funny, don't you?
Insight-ful.co.uk.
Or look for Jonathan Cook and he'll find you. He'll send the report to you.
He'll find you. That sounds scary.
He'll find you and he'll shove the report down your throat. But it's well worth reading. It's absolutely worth reading. Before you head off, Jonathan, I'd look at the news as well. Obviously the news at the moment is all around coronavirus. So I might just ask you, how's it going with all this stuff? You're obviously in lockdown with your kids. How are your clients getting on? How's the fundraising? What's happening out there?
There's been a few clients who've expressed a bit of worry about their how it's going to fit their fundraising. I mean, every event in the UK has every fundraising event in the UK is cancelled for the next 6 months, basically. So,
Oh.
ironic, we're just talking 40 minutes about events, and they're all cancelled, but they'll start again. And that's going to have a significant impact on the incomes of a lot of charities. There is some talk. The Chancellor the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the UK is going to give some kind of financial assistance to charities. It's not announced yet, but there's plenty of chatter in kind of on political circles on social media that suggests that's something that's going to happen. There's certainly been some comments out from some of the sector leaders that they're looking for that. I mean, they're helping businesses, so it would seem totally logical that they help the not-for-profit sector, because the not-for-profit sector in the UK is what's helping. Or what's going to help people go over this.
More demand.
But it is a bit weird.
It is a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, like you talk about events being cancelled, but there is a lot of events which are shifting online. People trying to do virtual stuff, and I think that's part of why I still wanted to talk to you, because I think fundraising pages are still maybe even like more important now. When stuff's happening online and it seems flat. This is the page that can bring it to life, and if you're using the right language and asking in the right way, we can still raise money.
Completely. I mean, I guess that's one of the advantages of all fundraising pages being online now. I mean, 25 years ago, you'd have to go around with a piece of paper, get sponsors to write their names down on a piece of paper. That would just be a germ-ridden rag now. So, because it's all online, it would, wouldn't it?
Just like holding it up and passing it to the next person.
Yeah. So now, if it's all online, that's it's a very efficient and easy way of doing it. I think maybe in about 2 weeks or something, when people have calmed down and the new normal. Everyone's got to come to terms with the new normal. I think actually then you might see people go, right, I've still got a little bit of money. How can I help?
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a couple of weeks of flux where, for example, I never banked on becoming a homeschooler. This is totally new to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm getting my head around the fact that I'm now teacher Mr. Cook, as well as having the rest of my life to lead. So let's get the next 2 weeks over and done with, and then I just think people will settle into life as it is. And if it is we are locked in our houses, so be it.
Yeah.
And then I think we might see fundraising pages appear where people go, right, what can I do about this? This is shit. How can I help? So
yeah, I think it's the uncertainty thing, isn't it? Like if everything's closed for 3 months or schools are closed for 3 months, we acclimatize and we get used to it, and then we make a plan, and then people will give again. Yeah. But this unknown period here that we're hopefully coming towards the end of a little bit, where were things going to stay open? What was UK going to announce? What was Ireland going to announce? What was everyone going to announce? Like your gut instinct is just to hold on to everything, hold on to your money, and just okay, let's just wait and see.
Completely. And to be, I mean, I'm reasonably confident that in a few months' time, things won't be back to normal, but we'll be getting used to the new normal. Because if we're not used to the new normal in a couple of months' time, then basically we're all fucked.
Absolutely. If anyone has any questions for Jonathan, feel free to write them wherever you're watching. If you want to tweet them at us or put them on LinkedIn or put them in the comments box, do. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, this is weird because this big news story broke out in the nonprofit sector, and it turns out that you actually know a little bit more than some of us about this. But basically, this gent in UK, Martin Lewis. So for most people who don't know him, as an Irishman, I kind of know of him, but he gives a lot of financial advice. I think he seems to be like a very TV type financial advice. The Irish equivalent is called Eddie Hobbs. For anyone who's watching, so it's like the English Eddie Hobbs, but he's announced on his website. He says, "I'm making £1 million available to fund urgent small charity coronavirus poverty relief." And this is one of the things that's been really incredible over the last week or two, is people wanting to help and some of the measures, the lengths they've gone to help. Martin says, "We face an unprecedented challenge to our health, economy, business, personal finance, and way of life. And many of those who normally help society, our charities, are going to face similar pressures right now too." So he set up this million. He's going to try and raise a bit more. He's going to start to provide grants to charities. And as you and I talked about it, it turns out you're in the mix of this.
Yeah. So last Wednesday at about 11:30 at night, he tweeted. So sorry, I should. Martin Lewis is a TV personality. He knows everything there is to know about what bank accounts to get, what mortgage to get, like what's the best savings account. He's a nerd, a bit like me, just richer. And yeah, he last Wednesday he said, "Is there anyone out there who knows anything about charities? Can you help?" And stupidly, I was still on the internet at 11:30 at night on Twitter, and I went, "Yeah, I do." So anyway, he phoned me the next day, and said,
wow.
"Right, I've put £1 million into this fund. Can you help me distribute this money?" So basically, for the last week, I've been working flat out to get applications from various charities in the UK and some overseas. Actually, he's awarding grants up to £20,000 for direct poverty relief, direct urgent poverty relief. So that's things like food distribution, medical distribution, people doing grocery shopping for people, all that kind of stuff. Now, when he and I chatted last week, he said, "I don't know how many applications we'll have. We might have several hundred. You know, if we get 1,000, I'll be amazed." We've had 5,500 applications so far, and the closing date is tonight, actually at midnight. So if you do want to apply, get it in now. It might be extended depending on money. Martin has actually put even more money in now, so the fund stands at £3 million.
Wow, yeah, I can see Together for Animals has informed us there. It's 3 million. Obviously, watching
there
it.
You go. Yeah. So he got some other of his peers to put some money in. He's put more money in himself. But basically, we're now going through 5,500 applications to try and work out which ones are going to be receiving some funds. And the first grant to be going out this Friday.
Wow.
And they're going to any organisation that can give direct immediate poverty relief help to people in the most vulnerable communities. So please apply if you want to. The application form is really short because we want people to be able to move quickly. So it's short so we can assess them quickly, and it's short so you don't have to spend weeks and weeks and weeks working out what to fill in. But yeah, so as of this Friday, we'll be handing out some the first batch of grants, and I'm imagining in the next 2 weeks it'll have all gone. We'll have distributed all this money.
Yeah,
so it's been a bonkers 7 days, but
that's incredible though, because I mean, fair play to him for doing this, and fair play to yourself for putting yourself forward to do it. But the idea of turning it around that quick, because those of us who've applied for grants before, sometimes you're waiting months to hear back. Sometimes you never hear back. Sometimes you're applying for next year and you're waiting until January to find out if you got it or not. So for you to you guys or Martin to announce this, I mean, that's less than a week that he's turned around, or just over a week by the time they actually get money. But that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think somebody could apply right now at what's this? We're at 5 to 5 in the afternoon in the UK time. Somebody could apply now and get the money in less than 48 hours.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where do they
one thing that we
sorry, go on.
I was going to say one thing that we are going to write to everyone, even if you haven't been successful, because you know what, funders that don't write to people who aren't successful are poo. Okay, it's a horrible thing. You put all that effort in, they don't even let you know, right? It's so easy just to send an email saying, "I'm really sorry you weren't successful." Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just big merge, surely.
Yeah, and so we will be contacting everybody who has applied, whether you're successful or unsuccessful.
You say that now, but
polite. No. We'll do it. It's a polite thing to do, and I will make sure it's one of my tasks to do. If you want to apply, if you go to moneysavingexpert.com, I think, go to the blog page, and look at Martin Lewis's most recent blog post, and you will find the link there. But get in really quick because they're closing it to applications at midnight tonight.
So that's his website, moneysavingexpert.com, isn't it? Because he's
moneysavingexpert.com. Yeah.
Pot noodles. He's just like constantly telling people.
Well, no, he'd just tell you which is the best and cheapest pot noodle to get.
Okay, good. How you make your own pot noodle? Find a cup on the street. Samantha has asked, are you accepting bids from umbrella organizations that are asking for pots to redistribute to small charities in their networks? I imagine you're not, but
only if you can get that money out quickly. That's one of the main criteria is, can you move fast?
And you have to be a registered charity in the UK.
No, you don't have to be a registered charity. It's open to charities, community interest groups, even small local community organisations. You are unlikely to get a £20,000 grant if you're not a registered charity or a community interest group company, but the grants are available even for small grassroots organisations.
Nice one. Good on you. I don't want to keep you much longer because obviously you've got 5,000 applications to get through. But there's a question here from Noodle Flute. She was at the NAF conference that you and I were at a couple of weeks ago or last week. Great to hear you both speak. But her question for you is, you said Generation X saw themselves as wanting to give more in the future. Was it Generation X? So when you were speaking at NAF, were you talking about different generations and what the trends in their giving is? Or is Noodle Flute dreaming?
I don't remember the exact quote I was saying there.
It's a long time ago, isn't it? Like I know it's only like
a long time ago,
week or two ago, but my God,
I remember filling my presentation with pictures of dogs because I'd heard some insight that the audience loved it if it was full of pictures of dogs. Noodle Food. I'll tell you what. Hunt me out. I'm Jonathan_M_Cook on Twitter, and we'll take this offline, have a chat. I think Generation X are so we're talking Generation X, I guess, are people who are between boomers and millennials, aren't they? They're people who were born, what's that, from about 1965 to about 1970 to about 1980, I think.
Because I think I'm
something like that.
Generation X. 79.
Yeah, I am too. I'm born in 1978. I'm Generation X. Yeah, but I think I'm on the tail end of Gen X. Generation X is a bit of an interesting one because the boomers, their old generation are the most asset rich people in probably the world. The millennials are the most asset poor in the entire world, and the Generation X kind of sit weirdly in the middle. So they are and Generation X, interestingly, they're getting to that point where their kids are beginning to grow up. So they're likely to have children who are between, say, 5 and about 15. So Generation X's kids in the next 5 to 10 years will have left home. Now, statistics will tell you when children leave home, disposable income of the household gets much bigger. So Generation X's, I think, will be quite a good fundraising audience when their kids are gone. Yeah. So maybe in about 10 years they might want to do stuff like that. But Generation X is a weird one because they behave completely differently to millennials and completely different to baby boomers.
Yeah, and even those segments, sometimes you look at like the millennials and you're like, geez, there's some range there. They're talking about millennials and it spans like 10 years or something. And you think of like two people, I don't know.
Millennials actually stands 18 years. There's anyone that was born between 1982 and the millennium, basically. So you can have a millennial who is 30. Let me work this out. 36, 37, 36. And you can have a millennial who is 20.
Very good. Now we have like the Corona generation. It's like the COVID.
We have the Corona generation, yeah. COVID, yeah. I did hear a lovely phrase from them though. It was the generation after millennials are known as the Zoomers.
I like that,
and I quite liked that. I like that, the Zoomers.
Yeah, I can live with that. That's good.
All right. I'd quite like to be a Zoomer. I think it's a good name.
All right, Jonathan. That's I'm not going to keep you much longer. So before we say adieu to you, where can people find you? You mentioned your Twitter, which is Jonathan_M_Cook.
Yeah, that's my Twitter, and that's mainly the places where I hang out. But you can check out the website. That's insight-ful.co.uk. So that's in like insightful.co.uk, but with a hyphen in it. Thank you. Well, insightful.co.uk gone.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I used to work for a company called Face to Face Fundraising, and it was the number 2. And whenever you shared your email, you'd have to be like, face 2, no, the number 2, no, the number 2, no, face 2. And, I got a letter once to Face 3 Face Fundraising.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
So it's my name is always a bit of a weird. I always think Jonathan Cook. That's a nice, easy name.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, right, so that's J-O-H. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Has it got an O at the end or an A? It's got an A. Right, Cook. Has that got an E at the end or not? I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, you're kind of like it seems like a simple name, but actually there's a lot of variance. But you're like, Jonathan, no H, you're Jon, Jonathan.
Jonathan, and Cook without an E. There you go.
Yeah, well, I tagged you in my social media, so hopefully people can find you. But that's been great, John.
Lovely. Thank you.
Really interesting, and lovely to chat to you. I can't believe it's only this year that you and I finally met face to face.
Yeah, I know.
Now we can never see each other again.
I was about to say it was the first and last time we're ever going to meet.
But there you go. But listen, thanks a million for coming on. Really helpful. Like I said, again, to anyone that wants to get in touch with Jonathan, do, or if you're watching on Fundraising Everywhere, click the blue button and that'll take you to Jonathan's report and his website. So check that out. But that's it. Thanks a million, Jonathan.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to boot you out now, but enjoy the rest of the day. And Mr. Cook, enjoy teaching.
Thank you very much.
Take care, John. What a lovely chap, isn't he? What an adorable man. But yeah, I really recommend you read that report. It's interesting and it's nice and simply put together that you can kind of draw your own conclusions from it. But there's definitely lessons we can take from it in terms of how we're approaching these fundraisers. So I'm gonna sign off myself in a second, and I'm gonna pass this across to Fundraising Everywhere TV. We have the Drunk Chef coming up. First of all, we have a word from one of our sponsors. They're not actually a sponsor, but Sketchnote. Mandy Johnson is gonna share a little bit on her Sketchnote project, which I highly recommend you get behind. In fact, you can push the red button, whatever side it is. Blue button is for Jonathan's report. Red button is for Mandy's crowdfunder. So I'm going to hand you across to Mandy in a second, and then we're going to see the Drunk Chef. And then we have some other viewing coming up later. In terms of what's coming up this week, if you're into fundraising, if you're into nonprofit stuff, just to let you know, I mean, the big thing that we're talking about at the moment is we have a COVID-19 conference, virtual conference coming up with Salesforce. If you go to fundraisingeverywhere.com/COVID-19, you'll see the details there. We're going to be putting up the speaker list later. But it's a multi-track virtual event happening on April 2nd. And it's going to be, it's already going to be, looks like it's going to be one of the biggest events we've ever hosted. Very popular, but we've got some really smart people talking about how we as a sector respond to COVID-19 and how we start to manage. But yeah, so there you go. So it'll be really interesting. So go register for that. But that's it for me, Simon Scriver. I will be back next week. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to not hand you, but I'm going to pass you over to Fundraising Everywhere TV. Here we go.
Meet Mandy. She's a 34-year-old mother of 2 with a full-time job as a charity CEO. She's constantly consuming information to stay on top of the latest developments, but there's always too much to read, watch, and listen to. That was me 2 years ago. I'm Mandy Johnson. I'm the founder of Sketchnotes UK. In 2018, I was overloaded, stressed, and ended up having a mental breakdown. My breakdown forced me to reconnect with the creative side I thought I'd become too busy for. When I was younger, I loved being creative. I even studied art for a year at university. And in 2018, I rediscovered the joy that creativity and colour brings me. And I learned a method of conveying information that combines words and images. It's called sketchnoting. Since then, I've become an expert in sifting through information, pulling out the important bits and translating them in a creative way. Now my sketchnotes are being shared on social media, and I'm getting inquiries from companies asking me to sketchnote their reports for them professionally. In a world of information overload, My sketch notes seem to be breaking through. Perhaps because our brains process pictures up to 60,000 times faster than words, and sketch notes provide the perfect hybrid of simple and engaging imagery with brief notes that provide the detail. I see an opportunity to establish a business in the UK, one that takes commissions for sketch-noted reports, consultations, conferences, blogs, and much more. To do this properly, I need to purchase some specialist equipment and employ a few freelancers to help get it off the ground. That's where you come in. I'd be so grateful if you could pledge to support my business, because let's face it, don't we all want a world with more creativity and colour?
I used to drink, I used to smoke, and then I dance. I used to drink, I used to smoke, and then I dance. Well, this company's public living in this crap room. It's a new religion and I need it pretty soon. I used to smoke, and then I dance. I used to cuss, I used to fuss.
Like I said, welcome back to a brand new episode of The Drunk Chef. Today I'm going to be making a pretty popular dish in this house anyway. It's a pretty easy chicken cutlet with cherry, tomato, panzanella. I hope you enjoy it. So ingredients, what we're going to need is onion, white vinegar, vegetable oil, extra virgin olive oil, some white sugar, a pint of cherry tomatoes, some sort of country loaf. This is sourdough from the grocery store, parsley, and of course, you're going to need the chicken breast. And I buy the bone in and skin on because the skin is really important. So the first thing we have to do is take the bone out of that chicken. And that's probably the hardest part of this whole recipe. I don't know why I'm waving my hands because nothing's going to happen.
Next, we'll take half an onion, and I'm going to use my mandolin to cut it nice and thin. Put that in a bowl. And then we're going to take our 2 tablespoons of white vinegar and pour that over top and just let this marinate and pickle. Cheers. So with this next part, what we're going to do is we want to remove the bone and the cartilage out of the chicken. I'm not actually going to show you how to do that because my chef friends would actually laugh at me because of my crap technique. But basically we have to remove all the bone and all the cartilage out of the chicken, and then we're going to just pound it flat to about about 1/4 of an inch. The other thing here I'm showing you is the sliding thing. Here's a little tip for you. You take a cloth and wet it down. Just make it nice and wet, and then when you add your cutting board on top, then your thing won't slide when you're cutting. Pro tip. So I removed all the bone out of the chicken and I just put it flat on a tray, and we're just going to let this sit before we salt and pepper it. So we're going to use about 1/3 of that loaf of the sourdough, and I've just cubed it up here into like 3/4 inch cubes, which is just perfect. And just a little last bit of prep, taking tomatoes and taking half of them and halving them, and then keeping the rest whole and setting those aside for the moment. Next up, we're just going to season our chicken and with some salt and pepper. I like to use kosher salt usually, and just sprinkle that all over on top with the salt, and then with some pepper, and then we turn and we repeat the seasoning. Next, we are going to take our cast iron pan, and I just put it over a low heat just to get it nice and warm, maybe like 3 minutes, just to warm it up. And then we're going to turn the heat up to about 7 or 8 on the gas stove, add some olive oil, and then put our bread crumbs or bread bits or bread cubes, whatever we want to call them, into the pan. We're going to basically just toast these for a while, maybe 5 to 7 minutes. Just keep an eye on them so they don't burn too much, because they will burn pretty easily. Next, while our pan's still hot, we'll add a couple more tablespoons of olive oil and then put the chicken in skin side down for about 4 minutes. After about 4 minutes or 5 minutes, we'll turn those over and do the other side for about 2 minutes or 3 minutes till the chicken is cooked through, and then we can remove that from the pan. To that, we're going to add another couple tablespoons of olive oil, and then we'll take our tomatoes and put them in the hot pan and roast these for about 5 minutes over the heat. And these are just about ready. I'm going to add just a little bit more kosher salt, a little more seasoning, and then I'm going to add my last tablespoon of vinegar to the pan, and then just give it a little bit of a shake around. So I'm going to take my croutons and add the tomato into that mixture. Get all the good stuff out of this pan. Got to get it in that bowl. Add my pickled onions in. Add the rest of the half tomatoes in. Some parsley, a couple tablespoons of parsley. Sprinkle that over top. Add another tablespoon or 2 of really good olive oil. And then we'll mix all this together in the bowl. Looks really, really good. And finally, we put the crispy chicken over top onto our salad. And that's how you do this pretty easy, pretty quick, crispy chicken cutlet with cherry, tomato, panzanella. I hope you enjoy, and we'll see you next time.
I used to drink, I used to smoke, and then I danced. I used to drink, I used to smoke, and then I danced. Well, I've come this public living in this crowd room. Need some new religion, and I need it pretty soon. I used to smoke, and then I danced. I used to cuss, I used to bust.
Danielle Harrison from Snisbrook will wake up this morning to her 71st day of lying in a bath of cold baked beans. You can donate by calling 08459 897 2333.
Catch you at a bad time, oh no. Did I catch you at a bad time, oh no. If you don't want me in, you better lock the door. The look in your eyes is not directed at me, it's not a good thing. The look in your eyes is not directed at me, it's not a good thing. I tried to read the Bible thinking maybe I should leave. Let me be your today high. Cause even on your worst day, you're looking fine. Barking up the wrong tree, oh no. Barking up the wrong tree, oh no. If the verdict's in, I guess I'm a guilty soul. Let me be your two-day high. 'Cause even on your worst day, you're looking fine. Somebody like you's too good to be. Somebody like you's too good to be. Buzzing around you, honey, and babe, I want it all for me. Let me be your two-day high. 'Cause even on your worst day, you're looking fine.
Hey, fundraising friends. I just finished week 1, locked in my apartment with my captor. I don't know if she's listening right now. I'm just at my desk, working diligently. What am I going to do? How long is this going to last? Am I going to get Stockholm syndrome for my captor? Okay, guys, weird times. I'm on the move now. Weird times. Just trying to see where she's at. I don't know. She's pretty freaky. I'm not totally sure what's going to happen or what she's thinking. Here she is. I'll keep you posted. Yeah, she probably looks pretty chill right now, but she's mean. And she's ruthless. Send help.
What's up, everyone? My name is Kishana Palmer, CEO of Kishana & Co., a boutique management and leadership learning company based in the U.S. in New York City. If this is the first time you are seeing this face, well, hello and welcome to Kishana TV. So, in Kishana TV and on Kishana TV, we're going to be talking about the issues of the day. We'll be talking about the issues of the day as it relates to the public sector, to the charity sector. We're going to talk about books and parenting and pop culture news and whatever I've got on my mind. And if I'm feeling real spicy, I will bring on the Queenager. Now, you haven't met her yet, but you will in future episodes. That's my kid. She's the real star. So, a little bit about me. I am a first-gen American, and my family is from Jamaica, West Indies. I am very, very proud to be a first-gen Jamaican. That's how a lot of my friends who are Jamaican Americans, what we call ourselves, but I'm true Yardie to the bone. I have been in the public charity sector for pretty much my entire career. After a brief stint in investment banking, I love the suits, y'all, and the money that came with it, but I really wanted to do something else with my life. Why? I don't know, but I've been helping people since I was a young thing, so much so that I even won a scholarship to university for public service. Isn't that amazing? All right. So if you want to learn more about me, please make sure you follow me on all social at Fund Diva, FUNDDIVA, like Fundraising Diva. So follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Periscope, Fund Diva. And if you hang out on LinkedIn the most, then you can follow me at Kishana Palmer. KISHSHANAPALMER. Kishana Palmer. And I'll make sure I get that to you again before we leave this wonderful broadcast. All right. So, first up, this week, y'all, we have been inundated with COVID-19. It is worldwide. First and foremost, if you or anyone in your family has been affected by this pandemic, my heart goes out to you. I actually have tested positive for COVID-19. I am on what seems to be the mend, although I have lost my complete sense of smell. My teenager's excited about that. That means maybe there won't be as many showers happening around here, although she's off camera, y'all, right now, giving me the only side eye. What has remained for me is that I have experienced long bouts of fatigue. I'm actually taping right now in one of my up moments, which I'm really grateful for. And I did have about 5 days of fever with a particularly high point of about 104 during that time, but I seem to have rebounded. My lungs seem to be clear. And so if praying is y'all jam, just keep me in your prayers. If good thoughts are your jam, send all the good thoughts my way. If hateration is in your blood, I don't need it. Keep it. But I do seem to be on the mend. However, am watching that closely. And so really just sending my thoughts and prayers to those who have been affected. And everything's been affected, right? Our physical health has been affected. Our mental health has been affected. I think for some of us, our spiritual health is taking a hit, right? We're like, what is happening right now? And for our organizations, you're getting all types of news right now and all types of advice. And not all of it is good, friends. Okay. So can we just talk about good advice and bad advice? All right, y'all. Lean in. Come on. So when you're getting good advice, you'll know that you're getting good advice, not just because of who the messenger is, but because it doesn't appeal to your sort of irrational sensibilities. We know when we're being irrational, y'all. I think we know. Most of us know. Some of us, half of us, we tend to know when things feel a little bit out there. My daughter sent me a meme that said, when your parents have gotten a PhD in COVID-19 from WhatsApp University. So here's the thing, friends. We're global. Kashana TV is reaching all parts of this earth right now. If you have gotten your latest medical information from one of your family group chats, the probability is it's incorrect. Okay, I just want to name that. If you got a fancy infographic and GIF that was not sent out by the WHO, the probability is some really snazzy graphic designer somewhere just kind of ad-libbed a little bit and made it up. So make sure you are checking your sources. Make sure you're checking the dates on all of your articles, because some of the stuff that people have been sending my way as somebody who's tested positive, I really have had to question some friends and acquaintances. Okay, y'all? So make sure you are fact checking your information. And as it relates to your charity and organization, I've been hearing that we've been getting some bad advice. Like, literally, there are people that are saying that organizations should not be fundraising right now. Now, friends, I am a recovering fundraiser. And as your comrade who is in the trenches with you for the last 17 years, and as recently as a couple of months ago, as I was in an interim role for an organization here stateside, let me tell you something. Your donors and your donor partners want to know that you have your eye on the ball, that you're clear, that you are laser focused, and that your mission is as critical today, if not more so, than it was even just a month ago. Because the social safety net, depending on where we live in the world, depending on where you're watching this video from, has shifted in seismic ways. One, because there's going to be some sort of like political gambling going on that we have demonstrated that we can do more with less. And in fact, because many of us have had to find a way or make one and are not actually enjoying the comforts of our 401ks and 403bs and stock holdings and family investments, etc. Everybody not set up that way, y'all. Okay. some of us are really feeling the pinch. And so, for the missions that we are accelerating and for the missions that we feel so passionately about, it's going to be really, really critical to help zero in and zoom in to what your constituents are feeling, experiencing, and will need, and how your donor partners can be a part of that story. That hasn't changed. Even though folks are worried about themselves, they're worried about their families, they're worried about their friends, and rightfully so. For the folks who were giving to your organization, for the folks who were standing in arms with you, for the folks who were coming to your events, coming to your galas, coming to your charity events, they still want to participate, but they don't have the bandwidth to figure out how. So you've got to help them see how. That's really, really critical. And so now's not the time to get onto the horseback of fear and start riding into the sunset. I don't want to hear any of that. Now is the time, if you are working with a small team, to really get creative, to look at what's out there that you can action for the long term that will allow you to be able to get some push right now. If you are thinking about working with a consultant, make sure that you ask the questions about what they understand about how to navigate in this digital space. Everybody is not an expert, and everybody who talks like they're an expert is still not an expert. So make sure folks are honest with you. If you come to me to talk to me about your digital strategy, I'm going to talk to you about the last economic downturn that I experienced as head of development. I'm going to talk to you about how that looked for my organization. I'm going to talk to you how I had to learn how to run remote teams as a result, and how I had to leverage technology in order to be able to be nimble if something like that were to happen again, and how training is really critical and important, and how my team can step in and make sure your team has that. That's what we're going to talk about. Let me tell you what Kashana's not going to make up. Okay, that I have 5711, 245 different strategies for how to now do fundraising better digitally, because I got about a dozen, but I don't have that many. And so make sure that if you decide to continue working with consultants, with consulting firms and organizations, that you're asking those hard questions. Everybody doesn't have to have the answer, but you got to make sure that you're working with folks that are going to be honest and they're going to be transparent about what they do know and what they're willing to roll up their sleeves and get in there with you and figure out. That's going to be super critical. So just make sure that you're not falling prey to the charlatans who are jumping into the digital space because they're trying to feed their families too. Okay. And so let's just be really thinking about that. So mission is still first. Your donors want to know that you're there, and they want to know they're still needed, and they want to still get the thank yous, and they want to still get the here's how you're making it possible. So make sure that you're digging in and that you are sharing that message as well. Okay. So let's put the 10 cups away. We're not in begging mode. We're in solve it together mode. Same as before. You and your donor family want to be able to solve big problems together. And this pandemic has put a different lens on it. Just like the lens on this video, they put a closer lens on it. And so make sure that you understand and you're adjusting your lens for what you're seeing. So I wanted to make sure that I'm naming that. If you're having some curiosities or you're just deluged with so much information that's out there, please make sure that you look at some of the really great resources that I've been turning to. My friends over at Fundraising Everywhere is a really good one. I'm turning to my website at kashanaco.com. There are some COVID groups that have popped up on Facebook where consultants and other experts are giving lots of information and resources that they're aggregating. Pay attention if you're on nonprofit lists to what people are saying and what they're sharing. And, try not to overwhelm yourselves with too many webinars, etc. Watch the ones that actually are going to help you do your job better. Okay. Try not to just watch everything because it's free, because let me tell y'all something, y'all. Free ain't always good. Okay. Free 99 is not always the best, just to be clear. Sometimes you got to pay a little bit. So just make sure that you're being conscious of the resources that are out there. Speaking of resources that are out there, all work and no play makes Kashana really boring, like a snooze fest. So here's what has been helping me get through my days, particularly when just a couple of days ago, I was sick as a dog, y'all. Okay. So if you're not on Instagram, what's happening right now? Run right now, press pause on this video, run right now, go ahead and get an account. Follow me, Fund Diva, FUNDDIVA. But also go into your search bar and look for D Nice. Literally letter D and then nice. This is one of my favorite DJs and rappers of all time. Yes, I'm an 80s baby. He was like a dope rapper. Everybody remember Self-Destruction. You headed for self-destruction. And Call Me D Nice. Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. Well, for 6 days straight, because I was on every single day, D Nice got on and did these epic DJ sets on Instagram Live. They literally went for hours. A couple of days, they went for 9 hours. Now, what job can you all do for 9 whole hours straight with only getting water breaks and hat changes, which is what he was doing? It was crazy. They were write-ups in Essence, in Vibe, in Forbes magazine. It was on Good Morning America here stateside. I know it was on some news channels over in Europe and in the UK. Everywhere people were talking about D Nice and his ability to take something that he is really good at and bring people together. He didn't veer out of his lane. He didn't try to make up some new thing. He wasn't like, oh, let me go and figure out how to be a videographer now. No. He literally put the video on top of his turntable and kept it pushing. And so the lesson that I learned from him, and then Biz Markie, who, you got what I need, but you say she's just a friend. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I hope you know what I'm talking about. If not, Google that too, okay? Biz Markie, just a friend. Where all my classics in the house? My folks who love classic music, good music. So Biz Markie was on there blending, doing all the different hits for the last couple of days. And then, friends, Questlove from the Roots did the awesome late night. My daughter would call it the Lenny Green, the Love Music set. And friends, every slow jam that's ever made my heart go pitter patter at any point in my very young life, because mama's not telling her age, got played. It was amazing. Like totally amazing. So if music is the thing that brings you back to life, like it brings me back to life, then you have got to make sure that you're plugged into Questlove, because I'm sure he's going to do it again, to Biz Markie, to D Nice, to your local DJ. My favorite local DJ is DJ Commish. I love seeing him live. He has DJ Commish Radio. And if you follow DJ Commish, COMMISH, on Instagram, he's actually doing lunch break and coffee break mixes now during the day. So that's just 30 minutes. I think it's at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, and I think 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. For all of you over in the UK, that's your afternoon or early evening. So good enough, and really just has an opportunity for you to just kind of get a good jam session. There have been house DJs that have been really amazing, rock, like you name it. Music unites us. And so what is the soundtrack for your organization right now? What are you having your team members rock out to? How are you bringing people together with music, with love, with sound, and really making sure that people are motivated through their day? So that's something like on the music front that I just had. That was in the news this week, because forget all the other news. That was what was in the news, because that just did it for me. I was like, I have not had that much good music all at once over that many days in such a long time, if not ever. And I think that's going to change the way we experience musicians going forward, because John Legend got on and did a free concert. Anthony Hamilton got on and did a free concert. Did Blink 192 get on and do that? I want to say yes. The lead singer for Blink 192 got on and did that. People are just hopping on and just doing some really great sets. JoJo got on and did that. I mean, it's just some really great people that are getting on and just like really giving it to the people, so that as we stay home and as we're at home, we're still able to experience different pieces of joy. So I thought that was really interesting. Something that came up this week, I was in one of my group chats, and one of the things that came up this week was that we are more aware. And I think I'm gonna do a separate thing on this one, but I think this is worth dropping in Kashana TV. We are more aware of our highs and our lows right now. So if you notice, before we were at home, that you could get really caught up in the day to day of busy. I call it the hamster wheel of busy. In fact, I talk about it all the time. Look up Kashana Palmer martyritis. You'll hear me talk about, working ourselves into the bone and what it means to just like want people to see that we're working ourselves to death. Well, we're all home now and no one can see anything. Okay. Maybe they can see us on Zoom or WebEx or whatever, but by and large, they can't see us being busy. And so, what that has revealed is that many of us rely on that visibility, on people seeing me be busy in order to actually kind of like help demonstrate, I'm really busy. I'm really busy. So, I was in a group chat and we basically were talking about the fact that being busy now looks different because you're super aware of your good times and when you're feeling good about yourself. And you're like kind of hyper aware of when you wake up and you're not feeling that great. Like you're not having a great day and you don't have a good reason per se to not have a good day. You just aren't. Have you noticed that, friends? Like, have you noticed that you're like hyper aware of the good times, the bad times? Has any of that like kind of popped up for you? Drop it in the comments because I want to know. Like, are you hyper aware of your moods? Are you hyper aware of your um are you hyper aware of your sensitivities? Like, what are you actually kind of like really thinking about now that you are in the house all the time? Like, I'm super curious about what that looks like for you and how you are engaging in that. I had to get some water, friends. Ooh, I should get like I need to get like a nice cup. All right. And so essentially, I don't know if now that I've taken a water break. um, so that's something that was on my mind. I wanted to just see how y'all are feeling and just kind of bring up like that was something that was really interesting about like being in the space where you're just super hyper aware of all of your sensibilities, your moods, your ups and the downs, etc. All right. So I want to make sure that we touch on some learning because I would not be as the CEO of a boutique learning company if I did not talk about actually learning. So we have a couple of conferences that are slated for the next few days that I'm super excited about, next few weeks that I'm super excited about. First up is AFP, the Association for Fundraising Professionals Icon Conference. That's our international conference that was supposed to be taking place in Baltimore that now has moved completely virtual and are going to have 3 days of really great sessions, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and some really great speakers. Humbly, I am one of them. And all of the sessions are qualifying for CFRE credit, which is really great. And so if you are thinking about some additional training and additional fundraising, sort of lock and tackle best practices, then please check out the AFP Icon Virtual conference, and that's afpiconvirtual.com. And you can go over there and register. Tell them Kashana sent you. Also, I'm involved in the COVID-19 fundraising conference that's happening next week. And I think that's going to be hosted by Fundraising Everywhere, which is super exciting. And I'll be talking a lot about team management and time management and moving to this virtual environment and what that looks like. At AFP, I'll be talking about being a woman of color in the fundraising profession, the highs, the lows, and what it's going to take to retain us globally. And speaking of globally, I'm also one of the hosts for the Rooted Collaborative, which is a global community for women of color in fundraising. And if you are a woman of color or know a woman of color and you are watching this Kashana TV episode, make sure you have them go over to therootedcollaborative.com and sign up. So we're having a free pop-up conference focused solely on personal care, and that's going to be your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health, your emotional health, and your personal development. And we're going to be doing that starting Sunday, March 29th through Wednesday, April 1st in the evening. Y'all, we have a virtual happy hour with custom cocktails. We have karaoke, okay? And we have some really amazing global speakers who are other women of color who are going to be talking about the issues that affect us and how we are able to stay fortified in our professions as our organizations need us. And so make sure that if you want to join that conference, you go to this bit.ly link, and it's bit.ly/rooted, ROOTED FB. So rooted Facebook. So bit.ly rooted FB, and sign up. It's totally free, but you've got to be a member of the Rooted Collaborative in order to attend the conference, and joining us is free. So some really, really great conferences for your fundraising, for your personal fundraising, professional development, for your organization's advancement, and also for your personal development and your mental, spiritual health. And so super excited about being a part of those conferences that are coming up and those education opportunities. Speaking of education, things that I'm reading this week, y'all, got to get my mind right. Okay, so I have 3 books that I want to share with you this week. The first is by my good friends, Ben Bisbee and Kathy Wisnowski. They have The Unashamed Guide to Virtual Management. So now, y'all, I love this book. First of all, I read it already, but I had to like go back through it with a fine-tooth comb because I'm going to be teaching different things around virtual management. And Ben and Kathy wrote the book on it. There's lots of books out there. This one is approachable. It's hysterical. I turned to it, and I'm an expert in this stuff, and these are my people. And so when they had to write a book about it, I said, I want in. Let me understand what's going on with this amazing book. And so it's everything from HR to office romance to bandwidth, being at home, you name it. So this is something that I'm recommending for you to read and to catch any of my sessions that I'll be hosting over the next couple of weeks around virtual team management. But Ben and Kathy did a fantastic job with this book. So make sure you run to Amazon and grab it. All right. The next book that I'm reading this week is called Story Driven. You Don't Need to Compete When You Know Who You Are. And this is by Bernadette Jiwa. And I got this book this week from a recommendation from my friend Clay. What's up, Clay, out in Vegas? And Clay is another fellow consultant, also a recovering fundraiser like me, who said, Kashana, you don't have to be like anybody else, although I am not like anybody you will ever meet, friends. But understand storytelling from a different perspective and what happens when your business or when your organization is story driven. And so I think this is a really great book. I just started reading it and digging in. Really, and the reason I really like this is because everything I talk about around storytelling and around brands when I go out to give keynotes is about having a personal vision, having personal values that you can articulate and translate into your professional values, that those things are grounded in stories and that people want to know and understand and align with you around those things, and that they want to be able to connect with you. And so I love that. That's a really good one that I'm digging into this week. And then because, I got to have all of the things, this book by Sarah Knight, Get Your Ish Together. I'm reading it again. Because it really just talks about like the joy of mental decluttering and really making sure that you are improving on your life and that you're not using this time to create more busy work for yourself. I saw a lot of different blog posts and different memes and GIFs about what you could use this time for. And honestly, y'all, some people are using it to sleep. And that's all right, because you might need to catch up on your sleep. But some of us know that we have 1,245 open-ended projects that we've been needing to do ever since that we need to get to. And we want to make sure that we're able to use this time. So that book kind of helped me just kind of snap it together and kind of got my edges and really got me ready to embark on some writing projects, to get my book published, to make sure that all the things that I have coming down the pipe are moving along. Last but not least, because y'all are like, damn, Kashana, did you take a breath? Heck no. Okay. There were no takes in the recording of this video. The last thing is on parenting. So I am a solo mama of one fantastic queenager. And y'all, for all of my parents globally who are stuck at home with these kids, understand they don't want to be stuck at home with you neither. Okay. What do you think I was going to tell y'all? I was going to give you some parenting tricks. I can, but maybe another episode. But it's a hilarious situation when your kids say, oh my gosh, I want to go back to school. It's one thing when you're home from summer break for holiday, for a spring holiday, etc. It's another when you're forced to be in the same house as your parents, okay, friends? It's literally not fun for them and not fun for you. Although it may seem from them running all over the place that it is fun for them, but after a time, friends, it is not as fun. So I want to say in this week's parenting moment that the thing that you can do for yourself and your kids this week is give them a project to do that does not include you, okay? It is not going to be right. It may not turn out right. It may be half done. It may be all the things. But really, this is a good opportunity with basic supervision to give your young people and to give your children some opportunity to start developing some autonomy if they don't have it already. And so that could be anything from finally mastering 3 different breakfasts that they can make themselves at their height, okay? Or it could be finally mastering the art of fancy ramen. It can be anything that allows them to start to be more self-sufficient and get some out of your hair, okay? I love these kids. We know that they are wonderful humans that we bring into this world, and we have to shepherd them to adulthood. But this time is going to test our parenting skills and abilities, and half the time we're going to want to pull our hair out. But we are not their friends. Friends, we're the parents. And so make sure that you are keeping that in mind when the activities are low and the stress is high and the walls seem to be closing in. Helping them to be self-sufficient is going to be one of the keys to making sure that you get space and time for yourself. You've got this. You've got this. You've got this. Okay. I'll be back next week with another episode of Kashana TV. I hope you got something from the myriad of things that I talked about in this week's episode. I look forward to hanging with y'all real soon. If you want me to talk about particular topics, make sure you drop it in the comments. Let us know how we can serve you better and what I can bring for you. And I'll be back with more of life, of charity, of fundraising, of parenting, music, books, you name it. I'm Kashana Palmer. Make sure you follow me across social at Fundiva, FUNDDIVA. Go to my website, kashanaco.com, and I will talk to you real soon.
Hi, this is Mo with the Unsteady Hand. This is the second in our hopefully long series of In One Take. We're talking about creativity and Parkinson's and stuff like that. This is Lonnie Siri. He's a friend of mine. He's been joining us for about a year and a half. I don't think he's missed a lab already. Yeah, I don't think you've missed a lab. Maybe one. I don't even think one. But anyway, what we're really doing here is a shout out to Copper and the Peak Arts Prize. Last year, we won a grant from them, a pretty significant amount. And I wanted to kind of do a little video about what impact those funds and the funds that people in general give us have on us as a community of people with Parkinson's. So I thought rather than write this long story and post it on my website that nobody would look at, we'd have a chat with Lonnie about the Unsteady Hand and creativity and what the impact has been for him, because that's what we're here about, right?
The Unsteady Hand has been a big impact for me. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 3 years ago, and long before that time, I met Mo, who had a young guy with a plan, and his impact has been tremendous on people with Parkinson's because you need to be able to express yourself. You need to have self-worth, and the Unsteady Lab, we only have one rule there: you don't talk about Parkinson's.
Right. And the cool thing about that rule, I never actually made that rule. You know that? The quick story, I'll tell this fast version. The first lab, I was going to make one rule, and the rule was you're not allowed to talk about Parkinson's at the lab. It's like Fight Club, the Fight Club rule. But I was so nervous and so excited. The first lab, I totally forgot to make the rule and tell anybody. So we did the lab, and for 2 hours, nobody talked about Parkinson's. It was the best thing in the world. Had I made the rule, it would have been phony and fake, and we would have to think about it. But we did make the rule. I did make the rule, and it just happened. And for like a year and a half, I think there's a little chit chat about Parkinson's coming in, a little chit chat on the way out. But for those 2 hours, we're focused on something else, right? I mean, I don't know
because
about you.
the creativity, we don't want to say art, but your creativity allows your brain to clear itself from Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Which is just a godsend, because Parkinson's just wants to take over your brain. So for 2 hours, we can enjoy ourselves without worrying about, did I draw this wrong, or did I do this wrong, or it's not right. There's no rules. It's all right.
Right. Happy little accidents.
Happy little accidents.
What's your favorite media? Like, what's your favorite thing to do? Like, so far we've done a lot. We've done tons and tons of things. What's your fave? Top 2, top 3?
Well, I've been getting into colored pencils. That's something I hadn't done for a while.
Right.
I'm enjoying that. And watercolor is something I really couldn't deal with, but I'm starting to get into that.
Yeah.
And actually, I've been doing some chalk pictures.
Right. Some pastels.
I did mine with sidewalk chalk.
Right. You told me. Yeah.
And covered it with hairspray when I was done.
Right.
And you'll see there's a hot air balloon I drew.
Yeah.
And that was outlined in sidewalk chalk. But I'm going to try some pastels too and see how they work.
Yeah, cool. And I guess one of the things that we kind of hope as an organization, personally, I hope, is that the Institute has an impact beyond the 2-hour labs. Beyond those 2 hours we spend once a month together. Has there been an impact that you feel like creativity or the labs or just being a part of our group has helped beyond those 2 hours in your life, or is it just those 2 hours are your escape? And
no, the 2 hour escape shows you that you can do more than what you think you can do.
Yeah.
And the paintings and the artwork that I do at home, I spend 2, 3, 4 days a week sometimes doing art at home.
Yeah,
but I'm also a ham radio operator, and it's allowed me to be able to get back into my ham radio and getting it set up and enjoying that. So I think it frees your mind of all the clutter long enough to be able to do something.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And I think another point, kind of back to the Peak Arts Prize real quickly, that the funds that they gave us, that people in general give us as donors, organizations give us, one of the things we're doing now is a lending box, where we have a box of art supplies, pastels, watercolors, paper, you name it, that people can take home during the month that we're off, to do stuff like Lonnie's doing at home. Because we as an organization don't want people doing art 2 hours a month. We want people doing art, like Lonnie said, 4 or 5 times a day.
And that's a great thing too, because a lot of people might not be able to afford the paints and the papers and things, and intimidation of wanting to do it but can't afford it makes it great for somebody to be able to have the opportunity to not only not worry about paying for it, but the ability to try it at home where they're not being watched. And if they have to throw it in the trash can, they throw it in the trash can and start it again.
Right. Like, for example, Lonnie has a nice new set of charcoals and pencils and stuff that the Institute Hand's letting him borrow, that he's going to experiment with charcoal and graphite for the first time. And that's just that's important to us. And that's the kind of things that your funds support, which is important to us. And the other fun thing is we use the good stuff. We don't use the cheap Walmart stuff. We use the stuff that's high pigment, pops off the paper, and kind of guarantees success, right? When you use good art materials and nice paper, you're like guaranteed, it just happens, right?
And it happens. You just let it happen.
Yeah.
But another thing that I've enjoyed doing with Steady Hand, this sounds kind of corny, but on Facebook, I've been having fun doing birthday fundraisers and different kinds of fundraisers, just because I want to get the word out there. I want people to understand how much this means to somebody with Parkinson's to have the ability to not only do something, but feel good about what they're doing and not have to pay for what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, our programming is free, so anybody who wants to join us, please join us. And that's paid. The Parkinson's Foundation actually pays everybody's studio fee. We used to have a studio fee. We got a grant from the Parkinson's Foundation, and they amazingly pay our studio fees for us. So that's cool. So that's about all I got. Do you have any other things you want to, like, just like creativity thoughts or Parkinson's thoughts that you want to share before we wrap up? It doesn't have to be about anything in particular.
If you have Parkinson's or you don't have Parkinson's, come to the Unsteady Hand. Especially if you don't have Parkinson's, come and see how that Unsteady Hand helps us and impacts us while we're there. See the lightness that people have, and just don't let Parkinson's take you over. Just do it one day at a time.
Yeah, drawing outside the lines, right?
Yep.
Yeah, reimagining Parkinson's. That's what we're trying to do here. So I want to thank Lonnie for spending some time with us today, and opening up his house to us and letting me sit in Sue's chair on top of 3 pillows, so I'm not 12 inches shorter than him. And that's about all we have for today. You can visit us at theunsteadyhand.org. You can email me at mo@theunsteadyhand.org. And we're also have a fairly significant Facebook presence. Trying to post about art and creativity and Parkinson's and sometimes the combination of the two. So on that note, I think we'll wrap up. Once again, a big shout out to the Peak Arts Prize for last year. Vote for this year, please. There's 3 great organizations looking to get a grant this year that could certainly have an impact on other people in other communities. So with that, we'll say goodbye. We'll sign off.
Nice to have you come by, Mo. Thanks.
Nice to be here. And we will sign off with the idea of how about embracing the tremor?
Embracing the tremor.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, bye-bye.
Bye.
We're live. And breaking news at HSNE GA5. We have our pet of the day. Now here's Karen Washington with Randy. Thank you, Susan Delaware. This is Randy. He is our breaking news pet of the day. And you know why? He's a 13 out of 10 good boy. Just look at that little face. He also has a wiggle butt. Randy, show him that wiggle. I guess he's a little camera shy today, but we'll cut to him wiggling his butt somewhere else. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. And this has been your breaking news pet of the day. Back to you, Susan Delaware.
Go.
Thank you, Karen Washington, for that breaking news update. Randy is a 13 out of 10 good boy. Randy is available for adoption at the Humane Society of Northeast Georgia Adoption Center, which is open Tuesday through Sunday, 12 to 6. This is Susan Delaware with HSNE GA5 Breaking News. Hope you have a tail wagging good day.
And now, before the next show starts, let's enjoy an intermission. You'll find our snack bar chock full of good things to eat and drink. Tasty, tempting hot dogs, thirst-quenching soft drinks, fresh, crunchy popcorn, a complete assortment of delicious candy, and a full line of cigarettes. You've plenty of time, so visit the snack bar now. A tasty treat will double your enjoyment of the show. For your convenience, we shall keep you informed of the remaining intermission time, 3 minutes before the next show starts.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
The next show will start in 2 minutes.
Yes, Toddy, the chocolate malt in a can.
It's so good hot. It's so good cold.
It hits the spot with young and old.
Yes, Toddy pleases everybody. Delicious chocolate malted Toddy, made with rich, real milk, not powdered milk.
So come and get it, everybody. It's time to drink your chocolate toddy.
Just a minute, folks. Yes, that's all it takes to visit our refreshment counter in the lobby. There you'll find popcorn and an assortment of popular candy bars to please every taste. Try one of these delicious candy bars. Big Time, Butternut, Milkshake, Payday, topped with Hollywood's super rich coating of the kind you like best. They taste wonderful, they're delicious, they're nutritious. Get one at our confection counter in the lobby now.
The next show will start in 1 minute.
Hello, folks. Hope everyone is well in these strange times. Jess has asked me to make a little film just to talk about the whole issue of working from home, and I think probably because it's something I've been doing for around about 6 years now. That in no way makes me any kind of an expert on what we're all going through at the moment. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about things that I'm doing at the moment. And also drawing on the fact that we've been homeschooling the kids for about a week now because the schools here in the Netherlands shut down about a week ago. So I just hope some of this is useful. So I've got around about 6 or 7 points to go through quite quickly. So the first one is get outside. Get outside of the house and ideally try and get out early in the day. We've got a dog, so one thing we do is we all take the dog out for a walk together first thing in the morning. That gives you a number of advantages. First of all, it means that you get dressed. You get dressed, you get out the house, and coming back to the house is sort of coming to work. You get that exercise, and if you have got kids at home, it's a good chance to talk to them about how they're feeling and pick up on any worries or whatever that they've got. Second thing is make sure your workstation is comfortable. Jess has got loads of other information for you about your workstation. Please take that seriously, especially where you're sitting, because that can totally knacker you if you get that wrong. And you're going to be doing all kinds of phone meetings and so on. Don't expect perfection. You're going to do phone calls where your partner walks past behind you wearing their pants or whatever. Those things are going to happen. Everyone's going to be working from home, so don't expect that sort of perfection the whole time. Third thing is think about social time. You're going to be quite isolated. You're going to be seeing your family, flatmates, whatever you've got. You're going to be seeing them all the time. But make opportunities to connect with your friends, with your workmates. I've been doing virtual coffees with people, and only today I've connected with 3 people in Ireland, in Canada, in India, who I haven't spoken to in ages. So do those little virtual coffee meetings and have kind of connected downtime. Next thing, I think is the fourth point after going outside, workstation, social. Fourth thing is about your headspace. Really looking after your sort of mental well-being. I use the Headspace meditation app. If you think that stuff is a bunch of hippie shit, then just give it a try and see how it goes for you. It really can help just to kind of give you literal headspace. Fifth point I'd say is have realistic expectations of yourself and how productive you're going to be. You'll have sometimes when you are not very productive because you've got all kinds of domestic distractions, worries about your kids, about your parents, whatever else. That's understandable. Give yourself a break. But you'll have times when you are very, very productive. I sometimes find working at home when you are not in the interruption culture that you have at work, that you do get vast amounts of stuff done. 6 point really for those of you with kids, and I realize there are no general points to be made about having kids at home because you've all got kids of different ages and many much younger than mine. Mine are 10, 12 and 14. So with kids, I would just say try and negotiate and agree a new set of ground rules and then stick to them, because just like grown-ups, kids need to know the rules. They need to know the parameters that they're working to. If you're doing homeschooling, I honestly don't think you need more than about 2.5 hours a day of concentrated homeschooling is probably more than you will need. Final point number 7, I would say really is the most important thing you will do in the next little while is to ask for help when you need it. Don't be afraid to ask for help, even if you're not sure what help you need. So I'm sure your teammates will be there. All of your DTV colleagues will be there. If you think I can help, give me a shout. But just be prepared to shout up and to ask for help. As I say, even when you're not sure whether you really need it. That's all I've got to say for now. I hope it's just some kind of help. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Bye-bye.
She used to say about love that it should come from above and it should come from below. She used to say, my love, we're the lips of a saint and the hips of a whore. And when we'd walk along the street, she'd say, if it rains now, I hope to God it pours. With her beautiful ideas, yeah, she'd cut me in half, clean as a broadsword. Now I just can't seem to get out of bed anymore, yeah. And now my heart hangs worn and weak like an old wire door, yeah. Now I just can't seem to get out of bed anymore. She used to say that magic was the edge, and science and God, they were the sides of a copper penny piece. Yeah, and it's far better to keep it spinning and spinning and spinning than for one side to fall and to freeze. Oh, when we'd walk along the pier, well, she'd point at the waves and say under there, that's where we go when we're asleep. You know, once she let it slip that I was the best of her beautiful ideas. Now I just can't seem to get out of bed anymore, yeah. And now my heart hangs warm and weak like an old wire door, yeah. Now I just can't seem to get out of bed anymore. Let's get naked and get under the sheets. Let's get naked and get under the sheets. Let's get naked and get under the sheets. And say, let's get naked and get under the sheets. Let's get naked and get under the sheets. You say, let's get naked and get under the sheets. Yeah, let's get naked and get under the sheets. And now I just can't seem to get out of bed anymore. Yeah, now my heart hangs warning me like no wide door. Yeah, now I just can't seem to get out of bed anymore. Yeah.
My name's Jonathan Andrews from Remarkable Partnerships. The world is changing around us. The coronavirus is providing us with a new reality. If you're a corporate partnerships lead at a charity, you're probably wondering how to respond. We suggest the question you ask yourself is this: how can we pivot our partnership offer in response to this uncertain time? After all, the need for corporate involvement in our causes has never been greater, and partnerships are more vital than ever. So here are our 6 recommendations to respond to the coronavirus from a corporate partnerships point of view. Number 1, focus on shared purpose. In times of uncertainty and fear, it is companies with purpose doing meaningful work that will stand out. So when you engage your corporate partners or prospects, it's really vital that you articulate your shared purpose with them. This is the powerful why that will inspire them to partner with you and do brave work that gets noticed. Recommendation number 2, link your cause with coronavirus. So how is your cause affected by the coronavirus? Does this represent a greater challenge for the people who need your help? Deafblind UK, for example, know that people who are deafblind already feel isolated and lonely. There's over 400,000 of them across the UK. So imagine how they must feel when they hear instructions such as, you need to self-isolate, you need to stay at home, you cannot meet up with your friends. Deafblind UK are taking this message to their partnerships and their prospects right now. Recommendation number 3, strengthen your proposition. Coronavirus means that we all have much more time on our hands right now. So as a corporate partnerships lead, what you want to do is use this time to really articulate your partnership offer in a much more compelling way. We suggest that you organize a virtual meeting with your colleagues to identify the compelling problems that your charity has, which companies could help you solve. Once you've got this information, you can then really hone your proposition until it sends shivers down your spine. If it doesn't send shivers down your spine, then you need to go further, sharpen it more until it has such incredible cut through that you get really excited and inspired by it. Recommendation number 4, shift your activity. Traditionally, so much of our activity has happened in physical spaces, happened face to face. But we live in the digital age now. We live in challenging times right now. So how can you make your partnership activity that you offer to prospects and partners virtual? With so many people working from home, we need to engage employees and consumers digitally. So for example, you could suggest digital campaigns in partnership with companies, or suggest online cause marketing promotions, or simple employee fundraising activities that colleagues can do from their home. Recommendation number 5, and we believe this is our most important one. So be part of their survival plan. Right now, companies across the UK are having emergency meetings on how it is that they can survive and ride out this terrible circumstance that has hit us in the UK and across the world. So you need to really meet that need. You need to meet their survival need. So how is your partnership activity that you're proposing to your prospects or partners going to help them sell more, reach more, or keep colleagues motivated and feeling engaged with the company whilst they're working from home? So what you want to do is make your partnership part of their survival plan. Recommendation number 6, prospect virtually. Engage your corporate prospects by phone, email, and social media. You can have prospect meetings via Skype, Zoom, or Teams. It's totally possible to engage a prospect online if your message is powerful, simple, and based on shared purpose. And in fact, we've just done this with Changing Faces, where we met with a prospect last week, and it was a brilliant meeting. And that prospect has definitely come on board to work with us in the future. So those are our 6 of my recommendations. We hope they have been useful and they give you confidence and a suggested way forward. And I'd like to finish you with a quote from the inspirational woman, Helen Keller, who was deafblind herself. And she said, "A bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn." I'll repeat that again. A bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. So it's down to us to make the turn. Thanks very much.
Do-do-de-o-do. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Do-do-de-o-do. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Do-do-do-do. I hate to leave you, but I really must say, good night, sweetheart. Good night. Well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Baby, I just can't treat you right. Well, I hate to leave you, baby. I don't mean maybe, because I love you so. Bo-do-de-o-do-de-o-do-de-o-do. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Do-do-do-do. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Do-do-do-do. I hate to leave you, but I really must say, good night, sweetheart. Good night.